This video is about what I call walkthrough discoveries. And when you buy a house and you do the walkthrough, normally there are a couple of things you're looking for. First of all, anything that was agreed to have been repaired or fixed due to an inspection, you want to make sure. For example, if there's a glass slider to the patio and the lock didn't work and the seller agreed to fix it, you want to make sure it's been repaired. Additionally, you always want to see if there's anything that isn't working properly or has become defective between the time you signed the contract and the time you're doing the walkthrough. So if you go and turn all the sinks on and you notice that there's a leak under the kitchen sink that wasn't there before, that's obviously a red flag as well. So I wanted to draw your attention in this video to the less obvious things, some defects that might have been there all along, but you just didn't or couldn't notice. So the one that comes up most of the time is when people go for the walkthrough and the seller has moved out, they come in and they notice that where there were area rugs that are no longer there, the floors are darker than in the areas around them where the sun has faded them. Now, when the rugs were there, you couldn't have seen that. So one question I often get from buyers when something like that happens is, well, what about the disclosure? Don't they have to disclose that there are defects in the flooring? Yes, there is a question about that. But if you look at the wording of the seller's disclosure, it always asks the seller, are you aware of? So if you think about what that place looked like with the rug in place, that's what the seller saw too. Now, is it possible the seller knew that there was fading and bleaching and just didn't say anything? Sure. It's also possible that that never occurred to them either, and they didn't notice it until the movers moved them out the day before you're standing there at the walkthrough. Another area that may have hidden defects is a basement along the wall. If somebody has a bunch of boxes or plastic tubs or something down there, there's no way to see, and the inspector can't see either because he's not allowed to move people's things, if maybe there's a little bit of water coming in or anything else along those walls. There could be a little bit of mold. Now, when you come to do the walkthrough and none of those things is there anymore, you might say, oh, there's all kinds of stuff on this lower portion of the wall. The seller has to fix this. Well, maybe, maybe not. Because if the seller didn't disclose it, it's probably because the seller didn't know it. And if you believe the seller did know it, the onus is on you as the buyer to prove that if you're going to try to sue the seller for being fraudulent and not disclosing something. So what's the point? Is it just to scare you that there's all these things that you might not be able to find out and then you just have to be stuck with them? That's not the point. But while it's true, the point is more that I want you to be aware that there could be some of these hidden defects that might have been there all along. So maybe if you're concerned about something like flooring differences because of rugs, you can ask the seller ahead of time, hey, would you mind rolling back the rug a little bit, or would you mind if I looked, just because I'm trying to determine if I would need to have the floors redone if there's a big difference? Or would you mind if I pulled away just a couple of boxes from the wall of the basement to see if there's any water coming in? Now, the seller might not agree, but the purpose of this video is sort of forewarned is forearmed. You may or may not be able to do anything about this stuff, but just being aware that it could come up may help a little bit.